Right, is my mic working? Yep, it is. Good morning, everybody. How are you doing? Well, good evening, of course, wherever you are. Well, most of you are in Europe, so good evening to you. Good afternoon to those folks in America. And I hope everyone is doing well as we are here. Full round 2 of the Nemesis Online Racing Championship here at the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona. And it looks like we are still waiting on some drivers, as ever, which is a bit irritating. So it looks like we are going to have to wait a minute. Fantastic, I got told to start and we're not ready. So now I just got to be here, silent, and figure something to talk about for a couple of moments. Thanks, Lord George. I will try my best. Hopefully the races are as chaotic as the last one at Albert Park. Hello SGT, as per usual. Good to see you in the chat. Alright, are we getting underway finally? Who are we waiting on? I don't know who we are waiting on. Hey JB, how's it doing, mate? Oh, come on. Alright, Nemesis has readied up but hasn't chosen a car. Val, choose a car. Can someone please tell him that he hasn't chosen his car? Okay, there we go. He's chosen his car, the 2007 Ferrari. Interesting. Right, now I better get on to the championship standings. Of course, in this league, the best position that you have over the 2 races counts as the points you will get. So of course last time out we had Aneltanovic and Ricardo F1 winning, so they are currently both on 25 points, sharing the top of the standings. Then we in 3rd and 4th we have Danny Ibn Lahar and Dougie Aframone, who both got 2nd. In 5th we have Callum J. Spencer on 15 points. Then we have Death Stairs on 10 points, who secured 2 5th places, as him and Callum J. Spencer could not be separated the whole entire race. Then we have Lord Jordan 7th on 8 points, Galactic Skull 2 in 8th on 6 points, along with Sonic on 6 points in 9th. Then in 10th we have Nemesis Racing with 4 points. Then in 11th we have Murcielago on 2 points, and then the non-scorers in the first races were the G-Man, Kevin Jacobs, Testameister, Seppi, Ragno and Macca. But we are underway here for qualifying at the Circuit de Barcelona de Catalunya. But we're going to be watching Mr. Callum J. Spencer in the 2009 Brawn here, as his pace in the time trial was very close, and I must say he was only about 500ths off my time in the Brawn around this circuit, so he's shown some good pace, and he looks like one of the favourites, along of course with the usuals that we see, you know, with Ricardo, Danny and Anno after his brilliant first race where he abused the OP-ness of the 2000. That didn't sound very nice. He used the overpowered 2009 Ferrari. Sorry, 2004 Ferrari. What rubbish am I talking about? As we have Galactic Skull 2 retiring from the session, so I'm not entirely sure what's happened there. But the Brawn in the last sector here, with the incredible rear stability and downforce that it has, should pull away from the guys in 2nd and 3rd. And it does indeed look like it will be Callum J. Spencer to take pole position in the first qualifying session, and it is indeed with a 120.5, with Ricardo about half a second behind. I'm not entirely sure what car he is in, but that is certainly a good performance. as we are just waiting to see the official classification, which I'll read through as ever. That is a very good performance by Ricciardo in the 2006 Renault. 4/10 off the 2009 Brawn. That is a superb lap. In third, of course, we have Lord George in the 2010 RB6. 6/10 off Callum J. Spencer's benchmark. Then, of course, we have Danny Bin Lahar in fourth, 7/10 off. Then Death Stays in fifth. Dougie Aframan in sixth. Murcielago in seventh, who will be a little bit disappointed with that lap time in the very powerful Brawn. In 8th we have Ragnar, who's looking to avenge what was a very poor start to the championship. In 9th we have Nemesis. 10th we have Anil. 11th is is Kevin Jacobs. And in 12th we have Galactic Skull. Indeed, SGT, I hope the race is as good as last week's. I hope that my voice will be completely ruined once more. Indeed, I do hope for that. And of course, just a reminder for you folks, there is no damage on. You have to use the balance setup on these cars. And this race will be in dry weather, but of course we will have random weather for qualifying 2 and race 2 tonight here at the circuit. But Barcelona, Catalunya. Why is that causing me issues tonight? I'm not too sure. But we are ready to get underway as the 5 lights are on and lights out, and away we go. It looks like there's been a bit of wheel spin there for Ricciardo F1. Oh, we've got someone spinning off in the background, but then it's indeed been a very good start as we are 4 wide in the background there with the 2. Oh, there's been a little bit of contact there with Death Stairs. Oh, and it looks like we're going to have some incidences here as... Who is that? Oh, as the Red Bull goes off into the gravel. Who is that? That's Lord George off. Oh, and there's cars throwing it down the inside. There's chaos everywhere. And Ragno is right in the thick of it. And and the BMW I thought was going to careening into the side of that Renault for a moment, but thankfully that has not happened. But it's been a very good start for Callum J. Spencer, who had a terrific start off the line compared to the Renault of Ricciardo F1. But there certainly is a major battle going on behind them for the 3rd place, with Dougie Aframan currently occupying that in the 2007 Ferrari, I believe that is. But we have some yellow flags, and that looks like there's been some contact, or maybe Kevin Jacobs has just gone spinning off by himself. But it's so hard to cover all the action here because there is action absolutely everywhere on track. But I think we're going to follow this battle with Anel Tanovic and Ragno, as Anel Tanovic in the 2002 Ferrari. It's in the slipstream of that BMW Williams. Will he be able to make a move down into turn 1? No, it doesn't quite look like it. Now coming through the ever difficult turn 3 as we hear Anel having to get completely out the throttle to make sure he keeps it on track. But it looks like nothing is doing at the moment for Anel Tanovic, who is looking for a more mistake-free race, I should say, this week. But now we'll go on board with Danny Bin Lahar, who's in 5th place, stuck behind Deathstairs at the moment. And after a very strong performance in the F2002 last week, he will be looking for another strong performance in the R26. Oh, as he loses the back end ever so slightly coming out of turn 10. That will cost him a little bit of time to the Ferraris ahead of Deathstairs and Dougie Aframan. But after a couple of laps already, we have a massive gap for Callum J. Spencer, 2.5 seconds ahead of Ricciardo F1 as he sets the fastest lap of the race. But looks like Danny Bin Lahar is quite close here behind the Ferrari. I can't quite tell what Ferrari that is that Deathstairs is running. It looks like it's the 2007 Ferrari. Yes, indeed it is the 2007 Ferrari. But, oh, is someone going off there? No, not I don't think so, but anyway, it looks like there's been a little bit of battling going on between Murcielago and Lord Jord. Lord Jord will have a very, very good car in these corners, as the RB6 was a absolutely superb car. He might go down the inside here of Lord Jord. He looks for the move, does Murcielago. They're going side by side, and it looks like Murcielago has got... So, Lord Jord has got the job done on Murcielago. I got a little bit confused there because Murcielago was in the RB6 last week. But Danny Bin Lahar is all over the back. Oh, and who's that spinning? That's Ragno, who's gone off in the background. Oh, and he's come back on track and collected the car. Who has he collected? He's collected Murcielago. Ragno has come spinning back across the circuit and has been collected by Murcielago. Looks like there was nothing Murcielago could do right there. Very unfortunate for the Austrian, who was battling with Lord Jord in P7, and it looks like there was a couple of other cars that got involved in that as well. Unfortunate for those guys. We didn't quite see the full spin of Ragno coming out of turn 10, but he did look like he just spun it around by himself. But there's certainly a very close battle between Dougie Aframan, Deathsteads and Danny Bin Lahar for third place. These guys are separated by just over a second, the three of them. So it's good to see some very close racing. But one thing is, we're not going to see anyone flying past really in a straight. It's going to have to be a move through the corners because, you know, the slipstream isn't too powerful with the classic cars, and they don't have DRS, and the horsepower is actually quite similar from the 2006 to the 2007 engine. So it'll be interesting to see how they'll get a move done here. It'll have to be through the corners or from a mistake from one of the drivers. But it looks like... Oh, we've got another yellow flag. And oh, Galactic Skull has gone spinning around. Coming out of turn 11, that is, I believe. And that is not what you want. He was in the points, and it looks like now he has just dropped down to P11. Not what you want to be doing. But just as I was saying, we'll go on board with Lord Jord, but he will certainly be losing time to the 2002 Ferrari in a straight line. It is no match for that. Oh, he has a little bit of moment, and so does Anil Tanovic in front of him. The cars are very difficult to control coming through the exit of turn 2, but Lord Jord will have the superior car through this part of the track, as Ragno has decided to retire from the session after his spin, and then also collecting a number of cars. Not a good start here from someone who I thought was going to be battling for the championship. As we come through turns 7 and 8, and Lord Jord getting very close to Anil Tanovic, but now through the brilliant turn 9, where you really should be going flat out in this RB6, that you certainly have the ability to do so. But now down into the braking for turn 10. Will Lord Jord be able to close a little bit on Anil? Well, he certainly should be able to through the last sector here, and we can see that. He's almost pushing Anil through the corners. That's how much grip that this RB6 has compared to the 2002 Ferrari. Will he look to make a move up the inside of the chicane? No, he chooses the better of it. But now Anil Tanovic is just going to pull away from him on the straight, as we have Danny Bin Lahar in the slipstream of Deathsteads. It looks like he's going to be close enough to dive it down the inside. Is he going to do so? Yes, he is, but Deathsteads outbrakes him around the outside, and Danny Bin Lahar is not able to get ahead of Deathsteads for P4 quite yet. I'm sure we will see that battle once again. But as we were saying, Lord Jord, I'm surprised he didn't dive it up the inside of the final chicane there, because he's never going to get close to Anil in the straights to overtake him. It's going to have to be through the corners, and I think his best shot is at turn 10, after turn 9, a corner where the Red Bull is much stronger than the 2002 Ferrari. He's going to have to get a good run through here, as we are up into turn 9 now. Does he get a better run than Anil Tanovic? Yes, he does. But I don't think he'll be close enough to send it down the inside. Even for my standard, that's a bit too far back. But I think the best chance that he's going to have of getting past Aneltanovic is down into that corner and then building the gap from there. Otherwise, Aneltanovic will just fly past down the main straight. Ooh, Lord George very aggressive on the brakes, almost trying to go around the outside of Anel, but that just compromises his run once again. But Danny Bin Lahar in the slipstream of Death Stares once more, but it just doesn't look like he is close enough once more. Well, he was close enough, he was side by side. Oh, as Dougie Afferman makes a little bit of a mistake up ahead, and I thought that was going to allow Death Stares to get a run on them, as Death Stares and both Danny Bin Lahar run it very wide through turn 3 in the dirty air of the 2007 Ferrari in front. But now we have Kevin Jacobs and Murcielago squabbling over 9th place. Now in the 2009 Brawn, which has a very, very superior rear end stability compared to the 2008 McLaren, is he going to be able to do anything through the corners or on the exit of the corners to move himself up into P10 past the American? Needs to get a good run here through turn 9, but it looks like he's just got a little bit too close to Kevin Jacobs, and that will affect his run through turn 9. And now he certainly won't have a good opportunity to dive it down the inside coming into turn 10. No, he just got a little bit too close to Kevin Jacobs there, as we've got Aneltanovic and Lord Jordan. Looks like Lord Jordan has finally centered up the inside at the chicane. It looked like he was shaping up for it, but now Anel in the 2002 Ferrari is just going to fly past him. And this is what I was talking about, folks. The Ferrari just has so much power in a straight line that Lord Jordan is going to have to get the move done into turn 10 and then build the gap throughout the final sector if he has any chance of staying ahead of Anel. But it looks like Anel is all over the place in turn 3, and it looks like that's going to present Lord Jordan with the perfect opportunity to move up into P6. Is he going to go down the inside of turn 4 once again? Yes, he is, Lord Jordan. But Anel is now settled back in behind in P7. Oh, thought Lord Jordan was going to go completely off the track there, but he just managed to keep it on circuit. But now he has to build a gap before the next straight if he wants to stay ahead, because the power of that Ferrari is absolutely ridiculous. It looks like he will be safe from Anel here, if he builds a good gap in this last sector, then he will absolutely confirm his place into P6. But Lord George's gone completely off the track there. He's lost it completely out of the exit of turn 10 into turn 11, and he's thrown away that P6 which he's earned, which he had to fight and struggle for so hard. He's thrown it away, and it's now behind Nemesis in P8. Disappointing there by Lord Jordan, a pretty simple mistake, but now the battle for third place is heating up, as Death says, and of course Danny Bin Lahar are all over the back of Dougie Afferman, who is in third place. Oh, we've got another yellow flag in sector 3. Who is that? Oh, it's Galactic Skull. He's had another little excursion off the road in the R26, and now we have Murcielago up the inside of Kevin Jacobs into turn 1. Will he get the job done? Yes, he does indeed. And Kevin Jacobs off shift, my man. He was getting caught there, but that is Murcielago up in to 9th place ahead of Kevin Jacobs. Oh, and Danny Bin Lahar a little bit too aggressive on the inside curbing there, and I thought he was going to go spinning off into the gravel. He did go into the kitty litter, but he did not spin the car around, which is very key. But I must say, Callum J. Spence is absolutely running away with this race in the Brawn. He has a 12.5 second lead over Ricardo F1. A brilliant performance so far by Callum J. Spencer. He just has to keep it up for the remainder of this race, and that will secure his place. But now we are on board with Destes, as he's going to try and go around the outside of Dougie Afferman into turn 1. Is he going to be able to make the move? On the brakes. No, not quite. He's looking for some sort of switchback, but Danny Bin Lahar is right there to capitalise, as now it looks like Danny Bin Lahar is trying to go up the inside of Destes. Is he going to be able to manage it? No, it doesn't quite look like it. But quite an odd decision there by Destes not to try and go for the move around the outside. Around the outside is the more optimal line full turn 1 when trying to overtake. Interesting there. Oh, and Danny Bin Lahar is all over the back of Destes, but he's not able to make a move into turn 7 into that fast chicane. Now coming through turn 9, who will get the better run on to this little straight as before we head into turn 10. Danny Bin Lahar doing the Fernando Alonso in Fernando Alonso's car, just having like, oh, I'm there, hi, and he is still in 5th place, but this battle is really heating up now between the two 2007 Ferraris and the Renault of Danny Bin Lahar. As they're getting really close now, and Danny Bin Lahar cuts the corner, as it looked like he just struggled on the brakes, but doesn't look like he's gained any time from that, indeed. But Destes is closing down into turn 1. Will he be able to make a move? No, it just looks like he's a little bit too far back, and it looks like Danny Bin Lahar was the person more likely to make the move, and Danny Bin Lahar is setting himself up for a good run here through turn 3, but it looks like he is just once again too far back, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see those 3 cars in the same order till the rest of the race, as we have Lord George here attacking Nemesis. Will he be able to do anything to the Italian through turn 3, where the Red Bull will be so much superior than the 2007 Ferrari? No, not quite, but I'm sure that he will manage to get past Nemesis Racing very, very shortly. He might look to make a move down the inside here, but no, he does not think of doing that. But now coming into the part of the track where the Red Bull does really excel through the fast corners. As we're coming up through turn 9 here, I'm sure he'll be pushing Nemesis through that corner, and geez, he went very wide there, but I'm sure he'll look to make a move up the inside or potentially around the outside, as Nemesis, as always, defends the inside line. Looks like he's going to try and go around the outside, but no, not quite. Nemesis has the move covered off for the time being, but of course that Red Bull is so good in the last sector, and I'm sure that he'll be putting plenty of pressure on the Italian as Nemesis goes wide there, and I thought Lord George was going to send it there down the inside, but he looks like he will have a good run coming out that chicane. But of course the Ferrari engine is a lot better than the Red Bulls no matter what car, and it looks like Nemesis will stay ahead, but Lord George has got a good run. Will he be able to do anything into turn 3? It looks like they've had both very similar exits, and it does not look like anytime soon that Lord George will be getting past Nemesis. Of course, he has plenty of laps to do so, but I don't think he will be making his way past the Italian for the time being, as he does close quite a lot into turn 5 there. So we have a lovely camera shot here just after the exit of that fast chicane, but Lord George has to be close here coming onto the straight with Nemesis, but it looks like he's just got a little bit too close again and hasn't been quite ballsy enough, shall I say, through turn 9. He has to be a bit more attacking if he wants to get past. He really has to go for it, get a good run through those corners, as Nemesis is struggling through the last sector, and this is where the Red Bull is very fast, but it looks like we are having some action as Danny Bin Lahar's down the inside of Destes, and he has managed to get his way past Destes. He must have got a very good run down the front straight, down the home finish straight for the first time, and that has moved himself up into P4. He's remained patient, and his patience has been rewarded as Danny Bin Lahar moves up into P4 ahead of Destes, and now he'll be looking to hunt down Dougie Aframan in also the 2007 Ferrari. A good move. We did see a little bit of contact between Destes and Danny Bin Lahar, but it didn't look too malicious whatsoever as he moves up into that 4th place. But we'll go back to the battle that we have been watching for the last couple of laps between Nemesis and Lord George, and Lord George wasn't able to do anything into turn 1 or 2. But will he be able to do anything through turn 9? He really needs to get a good run through here. That's what I mean. He's in the position to go down the inside of Nemesis here. Will he send it? No, Nemesis defends very late, but looks like Lord George's going to go for the switch back here, but it just looks like he's backed out of the move really, But now we have Danny Bin Lahar trying to go around the outside of Dougie Afroman into turn 1. They're heading down the very level in the straight line. Is Danny going to be able to make the move down around the outside of Dougie Afroman? It looks like there's a little bit of argy-bargy there, and it looks like Danny has managed to make the move around the outside of turn 1 and at the inside line for turn 2. And he has made that third place his, as now we have Dougie Afroman and Destes going side by side, momentarily heading into turn 4. Looks as now Danny Bin Lahar's managed to find himself past both of the Ferraris. Sadly, he's too far adrift from Ricciardo to see any further battling in this race for the Italian. Oh, but the Ferraris are getting very feisty here going into turn 9. It looked like Destes was going to throw it up the inside for whatever reason. But of course, I don't think he is that silly, as he is tucked behind Dougie Afroman for the time being, and I'm sure that come the start... Oh! As Dougie Afroman runs a little bit wide on the curb there, and I thought Destes was going to go up the inside. He looked to make a move down the inside, indeed he did, but not close enough, and we can see that since Danny Bin Lahar has got in front of these two, he is pulled away by 1.5 seconds, but there's been an excursion. That is Anel Tanovic, I believe. Looks like he has gone off circuit in Sector 3, but Death says with a very good run on Dougie Afroman, but doesn't look like he'd be quite close enough into turn 1. But once again, Lord Jordan Nemesis are stuck together, and surely, looks like the Red Bull's got a very good run there. I'm not sure what's happened to Nemesis. He's had a poor run through the final corner. Will Lord Jordan finally make his way past the Ferrari as Nemesis very aggressively defends the inside, but Lord Jordan looking to go around the outside, not quite close enough on that occasion, but he's trying to set himself up for a good run through turn 3, but looks like he's just going a bit too wide there through that corner, and once again Nemesis maintains his 7th place over Lord Jord. Lord Jord very aggressive on the brakes there into turn 5. Thought he was going to send it for a slight moment, but he decides better of it, as he was a little bit too far back. You can overtake in that corner, but he just was a little bit too far back. But Lord Jord needs to get a good run through this corner, but once again it looks like he's just not taking full advantage of the RB6 through that corner, and is not quite able to get the best of it, as he's looking to go around the outside of Nemesis now, but he just doesn't have the superior traction as he goes over the curb. You don't want to be getting on that inside curb on this track. That's a deadly curb. But coming through the last sector now, will Lord Jordan even think about a move into the last chicane? Just goes a little bit deep though, and that will allow Nemesis to get a better run coming onto the main straight. But with the slipstream, will the RB6 of Lord Jordan be able to make a move on the Italian, getting all those marbles on his tyres? You don't want to be doing that, and he's almost weaving in the straight, signalling his frustrations that he can't get past the Italian. Well, mate, if you can hear me, through turn 9, you need to get a better run through turn 9. Turn it a little bit earlier and go full throttle and send it down the inside into turn 10 or around the outside, and keep it on the black stuff so you can get that better traction. As you can see, he has better traction in this Red Bull as he's looking to go around the outside of turn 5, but he's not quite able to do it. But he's looking certainly a lot more threatening on the final lap of the race, which has gone very quickly. It hasn't been quite as chaotic as the first race that we had at Albert Park, but it has still been quite exciting nonetheless. But Lord Jordan not close enough to Nemesis there, but is Callum J. Spencer, who of course has started the final lap of the race. Got to make sure that we stay on board, and of course it is not the last lap of the race for these guys, my bad. Nemesis got quite a poor run out of the final chicane as they now head on to the start-finish straight. Will Lord Jordan finally be able to make his way past Nemesis? He's going to have to do it the hard way, the long way, around the outside of turn 1 if he wants to get it done. But it looks like he's not willing to risk it around the outside there, and once again he's just allowed Nemesis to pull away through turn 3. Disappointing there, but Callum J. Spencer with a dominant display wins the first race here tonight and sets the fastest lap on the final lap of the race, Very Sebastian Vettel-esque there by Callum J. Spencer. A dominant victory, 25 seconds in front of Ricciardo, who is coming through the last corner now to claim his P2. A very good result in that R26, and I'm sure he'll be very pleased with that. But we have Danny Bin Lahar gonna come home in third, but we will keep our eyes peeled on this battle between Lord Jord and Nemesis. Oh, as Lord Jord hits the back of Nemesis and he goes off circuit, and it looks like Lord Jord is now not going to be challenging Nemesis for that P7. I'm sure he'd be disappointed that he didn't find his way past Nemesis in this race. He had opportunities to do so. He looked like he was quicker than Nemesis, but he was just not able to get the move done. And that will be P8 for Lord Jord and P7 for Nemesis. And closely behind we have Murcielago in P9. And then a little bit further behind we have Kevin Jacobs, who will finish P10 in the 2008 McLaren. And then we have Galactic Skull, who we've seen go for a couple of spins, finishing in P11. Of course, our one retirement is Ragno after he had that spin coming out of turn 10, and then also collected, I believe it was Murcielago and a few other cars, unfortunately. But it is Callum J. Spencer who wins in dominant fashion here in our first race in the 2009 Brawn over Ricciardo F1 and Danny Bin Lahar, both in the 2006 Renaults. A very good first race here, not quite as chaotic, but certainly a very good race, and I'm sure that Ricciardo will be very pleased with his performance and a very good P2 in a car that is nowhere near the pace of the Brawn. As I will go through the chat, not the track. JB saying the 2003 Williams is probably the best on a straight line out of the F1 2016 classic cars. Yes, it is. It's a very close second to the 2004 Ferrari. But of course, we'll go through the final classification for the first race here tonight at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. It's Callum Jacob who takes the win from Ricciardo F1 in second. Third is Danny Bin Lahar. Fourth is Doug Yarfman. Fifth is Death Stairs. Sixth is Anel Tanovich. Seventh is Nemesis Racing. Eighth is Lord Jord. Ninth is Murcielago. 10th is Kevin Jacobs. 11th is Galactic Skull 2. And 12th is Ragno. And I've almost become a rapper, trying to make sure I finished reading up the names before they finished up on my screen here. But of course, now we have Gaming Now saying in chat, of course, Ricciardo, Toby, as most of us know him. The Renault just can't compete with the Brawn around here, but second is a good damage limitation. Indeed it is. It's the best result you can really hope for in that Renault. And now you have that secured, and now you can just risk it all in the second race. Try to see if you can find yourself ahead of Callum J. Spencer. Yeah, sorry, Callum. I've been quite atrocious in my this morning. I do apologise if I called you Callum Jacob. I think I did at some stage earlier in the race. I do apologise for that. But now for the second race here, of course, where we will have random weather. We have Seppi joining, and he is going to use 2006 Renault for this race. And Ragno, I must say, he's had the first three races of these championships has been very disappointing, and he needs to bounce back here with a good performance. Does Ragno? He really does. Kevin saying, can't believe my McLaren is so slow. Well, indeed, it's probably the worst car that you can probably choose. Well, of course, the 98 McLaren, which you already used, is the slowest. But yeah, the rear end, with that being the first year that they didn't use traction control, it's very poor, is that McLaren, in terms of the pace compared to everyone else. Galactic Skull saying, can't believe I kept spinning. Indeed, this track in the classic cars, it's very easy to spin it, especially coming out of turn 2. That's very easy to spin it there. turn 11, exit turn 10, it's very easy to spin it there, and of course the last corner, it's also very easy to spin it there. I didn't really have any issues in the 2018 cars, but seemingly in these classic cars it is a lot more tricky and a lot more difficult to keep the cars under control. The only car which I seemingly didn't have an issue with when I did do a little bit of time trial for these cars was the RB6. As we are just waiting for Nemesis to change the settings. He's readied up, but he hasn't changed the weather. So I hope he realises this. Can someone type in the chat for Val to change the weather, because it still says it's clear on my screen here, and he is readied up, so I don't want us to start the session here without us moving to the random weather. Yep, there we go. I think he's just changed it. Yep, there we go. Thank you for anyone who's just reminded him in the chat that he needs to change it to the dynamic weather. As we'll now be getting underway very shortly, once people ready up, because of course Nemesis is ready. I'm sorry, Colin. I'm sorry, but we have to make sure that we are following the rules here. We have to be good. Look at me here, I'm on the ball. This is the league race coming out here, making sure that everything is correct. As looks like in 10 seconds we'll finally get underway for our second qualifying session here. And I'm sure it will once again be Callum J. Spencer, not Callum J. Jacobs. I'm sure he will be taking pole position here, as the Brawn is the superior car around this circuit. Kevin Jacobs saying, I was hoping for more accidents so I could finish higher up. Indeed, but you are getting the two worst cars out of the way at the start of the season, so that might not be the worst strategy in the world. Oh, as I haven't got it on live chat, so I apologise if I have missed anyone's comments. It's so annoying with YouTube how it just puts it on top chat instead of live chat. I want to see every single comment. It's very annoying. I'm usually on the ball with that when I'm moderating, but I was not this time. As well as Callum J. Spencer. We're going to go on board with him for this lap. Not just going to watch from the trackside cam, we'll indeed go on board. As Kevin Jacobs just informed me that there's a dry race, there's going to be no rain. Well, that's unfortunate. I would have liked to see some rain, just throw some spanners in the works of Callum J. Spencer. I'm sure he still would have performed very strongly in the rain, but in the dry, you have to put him as the favourite once again to take pole and to win the race. As you can see how beautiful the Brawn is looking through these corners with so much rear end stability that this car has. You're just able to chuck it into the corners and know that the car is going to be able to stay stuck to the road almost flat out through turn 9, just a slight lift as he heads down into turn 10 now, a very tricky braking zone. You want to try not to clip the apex like Callum has just done there and carry the minimum speed through the corner. The very tricky turn 12s. We now head into the final part of the lap here, into the final chicane. Very tricky if you just go a little bit too wide. It is very easy to get it wrong, but it looks like it's been a very flawless lap here by Callum J. Spencer in the beautiful 2009 Brawn, and he takes pole with a whopping 1:19.4, 1.4 seconds ahead of Ricardo F1. And wow, what a dominant display it has been here by Callum J. Spencer in the Brawn, and he is looking very comfortable here tonight to do the grand slam of everything. Pole, fastest lap and the race win in race 1, and I'm sure he'll be looking to replicate it Once again, he just has to get the fastest lap and the race win here in race 2. But in second, we have Ricciardo F1. In third, we have Danny Bin Lahar. So it looks like Danny has managed to put himself in a better position for the start of this race. And we have a very close squabble for third place between Deathstairs and Lord Jord, who were 4th and 5th respectively. And Altanovic in 6th, Nemesis in 7th, Dougie Afroman in 8th, Murcielago in 9th, 10th is Ragno, 11th is Galactic Skull, 12th is Kevin Jacobs, and in 13th is Seppi. As we're now going to load into the race, which will be dry, unfortunately, according to Kevin Jacobs. Who knows? He could be trolling me. He could be leg, but indeed it looks very sunny here in Spain, in Barcelona. As we are waiting for the people to skip the animations, and with now just waiting for Murcielago, and then we'll be waiting for the 5 lights to go out to signal the start of the race. 5 lights, and away we go. Once again, a very good start there, looking for Callum J. Spencer, but it looks like there will be a battle between the Renaults and the Ferrari down into turn 1. Always Deathstairs does send it very deep there on Ricciardo, but it looks like Danny Bin Lahar has managed his way past Deathstairs there. Quite important always, as Ricciardo runs very wide there, but we're going to look at the action further behind as they head through turn 4. Always there is cars absolutely everywhere, headed by Altanovic and then Ragno. Who was that? And yes, indeed, it looks like one of the Ferraris made contact there with Ragno, as Ragno has gone spinning around, and then there was absolutely a massive pile-up there between the cars of Kevin Jacobs, Murcielago, Seppi and Galactic Skull, and it looks like there was a little bit of contact between Galactic Skull and Seppi at the back of the grid there. But once again, it's Callum J. Spencer who's taking a commanding lead of this race at the moment, with a 1.5 second lead at the start of this race, as we have Deathstairs tucked up behind Altanovic. I don't think he'll be able to... as he loses the rear end quite severely there coming through the chicane, and Lord George running very wide through the final corner, I must say. But I don't think Deathstairs will be able to do anything here into turn 1 on Altanovic. Of course he won't, he's nearly a second behind. We've got some action between Murcielago and and what's happened here? The camera angles on this game sometimes are fantastic, but that was awful, as we have Ragno moving up into P8 ahead of Nemesis, as he runs very wide and almost into the gravel there through turn 3. The drivers need to be a bit more aware and a bit more careful of that, as Ragno has his compatriots behind him, pressuring him for this P8. As they make their way up towards turn 9 now. You don't want to be getting your tyre on the grass there, Nem. You don't want to be doing that at all. We've seen what happened to Pierre Gasly in winter testing only a couple of weeks ago. And of course, Ragno goes very, very deep and is almost taking the MotoGP line through there. And it looks like he's gained a massive advantage by doing that. I think he should lift off the throttle a little bit and allow Nemesis to close up a little bit, as he's certainly gained an advantage by doing that. But once again, Callum J. Spencer, and as we see Ragno once again cutting the corner there. A bit naughty, but we have Danny Bin Lahar and Ricciardo F1 side by side into turn 1. Who is going to come out on top of the Renault battle? Danny looking to go around the outside, and he now has the inside line, but Ricciardo has managed to hold around the outside of turn 2. And it looks like Ricciardo, as they both run off the circuit, as we've seen a lot of drivers do through turn 3, Ricciardo has come out on top of that first battle between the Renaults. And I think we might see this battle go on throughout the majority of the race. It sounded like there was some contact there between Danny and Lord George. But I don't think there actually was. It sounded like there was, but I don't think there actually was. As Lord Jord is not stuck behind. Oh, he's got some yellow flags in Sector 2. What's happened? Murcielago looks like he's disconnected from the session. He said in chat that there was a storm in his area. But it looks like it might have been Deathstairs who had an off-track excursion there, as he was only in 5th gear heading into turn 10, and that's not what you'd expect. Yes, it looks like Murcielago had just disconnected ever so just for a split second. That's very unfortunate, and he's lost out on a couple of places. Yes, and he mentioned before that there's a bad storm where he lives, and it looks like it's causing havoc with his internet connection there. As we have Ricardo maintaining his position in P2 ahead of Danny Ibn Lahar. Now what's the go with Murcielago here? Is he disconnected? I don't know if he is back or not, but Galactic Skull has moved past him for P10. But it looks like the main battle that we will be having once again involves Danny Ibn Lahar, and that will be for second place with Ricardo F1. But not to discount Lord Jord here, he was showing fantastic pace in this second race here. He's only half a second behind Lord Jord, but won't be able to challenge the Renault in the straight. Certainly for the time being, as Murcielago has joined the session, but I'm not sure if he will actually take control of his car. So we're watching Dougie Aframan come through the final sector behind Anel Tanovic. I'm sure he'll be looking to put Anel Tanovic under pressure. So we just see a sea of red Ferraris in the background, with Deathstairs and Nemesis Racing tucked up behind Ragno, and with the Williams being this pretty much the second fastest car in a straight line in the classic cars, I don't think they'll be finding their way past Ragno in a straight line. And I think this is the furthest he has actually made it through in the first 3 races, so good to see Ragno has survived, even though there was some contact. He was hit in turn 5 by a Ferrari, I believe it was Nemesis. Good to see he's managed to continue and not come off worse for wear here. And he's currently sitting in P7. But once more, looks like the closest battle on track is that battle for second place between Ricardo, Danny Ibn Lahar and Lord Jord. And Callum J. Spencer at this moment has a 7.5 second lead over these 3 cars. Once again, looks like it's going to be another comfortable race win for the Welshman. Oh, as Danny Ibn Lahar cuts the corner there, looks like he is struggling through that final chicane, and that is perhaps a place where Lord Jord can take advantage, as he is looking very strong here in this second race. But the Red Bull, with that Renault engine maxing out at 188 miles per hour. We're certainly not having as much excitement as we did in the first race, or say we did in the second race at Albert Park, or indeed the first race. But Lord Jord looking very aggressive here behind Danny Ibn Lahar. It looks like he has the pace, as we have Ragno and Deathstairs going side by side, and in the meantime Deathstairs managed to get himself past Nemesis and in front of Ragno. Very good driving there by Deathstairs. I have missed that, I do apologise. I didn't see any arrows moving up and down, which is a bit irritating. But it is Deathstairs who has managed to take that P7 away from Ragno. Because we have some yellow flags in Sector 1. Oh, and Ricardo's gone spinning there at the final chicane, and that's going to promote Danny Ibn Lahar and Lord Jord up into second and third place. Oh, he's made another mistake in the second race. We've seen him spin out of the lead in the second race at Albert Park, and he has once again made a mistake, has Ricciardo. And he is now under pressure by Dougie Aframan. Oh dearie me, poor Ricciardo. He's made a mistake, and now he's gonna have to put in a mighty effort to get back up towards the top. And there's yellow flags in sector 1. Oh, and it's Galactic Skull who's gone spinning, coming out of turn 2. I did say in between races that is a tricky part of the circuit, and it is very easy to drop the car there, and that is exactly what Galactic Skull has done. He has proven me correct, and he has gone spinning off once again in this race. But we have once again Ragno tucked up behind Deathstairs, so I'm not sure why we're looking backwards. We should be looking forwards towards Deathstairs. Ragno very late on the brakes once again, and almost going off onto the MotoGP line once again. But everything looks a little bit separated here. But I'm sure after his mistake, Ricciardo, F1 will be looking to get back towards the podium positions. Of course, it doesn't really matter in the huge context of the championship, as he already has got that second place, and he's not going to make any improvement on that by beating Callum J. Spencer. Callum J. Spencer is untouchable in this race. No one will challenge him unless he makes a massive mistake, of course, which is easy to do on this circuit. We've seen Ricciardo do it. But for whatever reason, I don't think that will be happening, as Ricciardo is closing up behind Anel Tanovic for 4th place. Ricciardo will be disappointed with himself and be looking to make his way back up to the battle with Lord Jord, who has dropped back behind ever so slightly from Danny Ibn Lahar in that battle for 3rd place. But Ricciardo here through turn 9, looks like he's got a good run. Is he just too far back to challenge Anel? Yes, it does look like it. Looks like he's going to have to get an even better run through turn 9 compared to Anel. But the Renault should be stronger than the Ferrari. Ricciardo getting very close. Is he going to throw it up the inside into the final chicane? Yes, he is, but gives Anel space, which is very, very nice of him. Oh, and goes a little bit wide, but he is in the slipstream now, that Ferrari. But the Ferrari, as you can see, is pulling away, even though Ricciardo is tucked right up behind him there. Is Ricciardo going to think about making a move? No, he's... Oh, I thought he was there. I thought he was. Oh, and Ricciardo's getting a very good run as Anel's struggling with the rear end of that Ferrari. Is Ricciardo going to try and make a move around the outside? Oh, what's going on here? Ricciardo, Anel defending the inside line. Is Ricciardo going to make it? He now has the inside line for this corner. Down the inside into turn 5. Yes, he has made the move stick. Ricciardo F1 has made the move on Anel Tanovic, but Anel is looking to make it right back past Ricciardo with that very fast Ferrari that he is driving. Is he going to be able to make it anything? Oh, as Anel goes very, very wide into turn out of turn 9 there, and nearly off. Oh, and that's Dougie Aframan. Oh, there's contact between the two. Dougie Aframan sent it up the inside of Anel Tanovic, which was very unwise of him. It looked like he was too far back. Oh, and Anel Tanovic, his race has just gone from bad to worse, and he's spun it out of turn and through turn 11. Oh, poor Anel Tanovic. There was contact between him and Dougie Aframan, and that has just unsettled the Bosnian as he is spun through that corner, as Ragnar has got a 5-second stop-go penalty for ignoring yellow flags, but I'm sure that will be removed, as Anel Tanovic has been spun around and then gone spinning himself. Dougie Aframan, for me, clearly at fault for that contact there between the two. It looked like he launched it down the inside when he was just too far back, and indeed Anel Tanovic fed up with what had just happened there, as he is retired from the session. But it looks like things have all settled down now, as the closest battle on track is between Nemesis and Deathstairs. But them two being in the same car, it's going to be very hard for them to overtake each other unless there is a mistake from one of these drivers ahead. Death says looking good here through the final sector, closing ever so slightly on Nemesis ahead. Just carrying more speed into the corners. Nemesis is looking a bit rattled here as Deathstez has closed up significantly through the final sector, but once he just went a little bit too deep. Oh, it was Seppi. What's happened to Seppi? He's ended up in the wall. Where is that? That is at the exit of turn 10. Not been a good day for Seppi as he missed the first race and has now gone spinning into the wall coming out of turn 10, and that looks like that might be the end of his evening here at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. There's yellow flags in Sector 3, and that's because Seppi's gone for another spin, and that is Kevin Jacobs making his way past, and I would not be surprised if Seppi retires after 2 spins in the last sector on the same lap. It's not what you want to be doing. Why are we looking at the rear wing when there is no one behind? Once again, thank you Codemasters, terrific. Oh, we're still going to choose that. Okay, thankfully we are off of that. Why are we watching that, honestly? Come on. But whilst we are a little bit lacking of action here, I think this is a good opportunity to just watch the man of the moment, Callum J. Spencer, driving absolutely superbly in his Brawn. But saying that, Dougie Afferman and Ragnar are going side by side, and Ragnar has just completely cut the corner and nearly comes steaming, or has come steaming back onto the racetrack, but Dougie Afferman has managed to avoid him once again. We've seen the Italian spin across the track earlier on in race 1 and cause a collision with other drivers, and thankfully Dougie Afferman has avoided the contact there. But Ragnar starting to look threatening here behind Dougie Afferman. Of course, with that very quick Williams in the straight, he's able to challenge Dougie into turn 1, trying to go around the outside, but didn't make the move stick, and then had to cut the corner. But that, whilst that has happened, it has allowed Nemesis Racing to catch up to the back of Ragnar here. But Nemesis just not close enough, as we have now a beautiful 3-way battle emerging for 5th place. Well, Nemesis looking very strong through the final sector here. But I think the man that will be making the moves here will be Ragnar, potentially. Oh, was Nemesis just turned it in a little bit too early for the final corner and nearly went off into the kitty litter. But you see the pace that Ragnar has in that car, in the Williams. Oh, and Nemesis has lost the rear end there. He's gone for a half spin. He's lost a little bit of time to Ragnar there, and to Deathstez has caught up a little bit to him. But Nemesis, got to be careful. He could be in for a chance of P5 here. He can't be throwing it away that easily with quite a simple mistake out of turn 2. But I did say that is quite a tricky corner, and it looks like the Italian struggled with it on that occasion. But Ragnar, very aggressive on the curbing into turn 9, is looking to close that gap on Dougie Afferman, and I say, Ragnar once again, track extending to Narnia after he misses his braking point in turn 10. I was just about to say, if Ragnar is about half a second behind Dougie, I do fancy him to get past him down the straight. Oh, it looks like Dougie has had a poor run coming out of that final chicane, and it looks like Ragnar might have the run on him here into turn 1 to make the move. Oh, and indeed he is. He's gaining and gaining. He's going to try and make the move around the outside of Dougie Afferman. Is he going to be able to make it stick? Yes, he is. That moves Ragno up into P5 ahead of Dougie Afferman. Dougie Afferman with a slight mistake there coming out of the last chicane into the final corner, and that promotes Ragno up into P5 ahead of Dougie Afferman. But we have some yellow flags in sector 2 and 3, and it looks like there's been some contact between Seppi and Kevin Jacobs. Oh dearie me, when you're in last place. But now it's still very close here between Ragno and Dougie Afferman, as we have yellow flags still in sector 3, but they have just disappeared as soon as I spoke about them. But Dougie Afferman, after a little slight mistake, allowed Ragno to get past him. Will be looking to avenge that mistake as Ragno drives seemingly just into the kiddie litter, but I'm sure that is just a lag on the spectator cam. So we have yellow flags in sector 3 once again. I wonder what that is for. Not entirely sure, but Nemesis is closing in on Dougie Afferman here. Oh, as he loses the rear end once again. Oh, but Ragno's lost the rear end as well, and he's lost his place to Dougie Afferman. It was Dougie Afferman who made the mistake which allowed Ragno to get past, and Ragno has just returned the favour there as he's lost it coming out of the final chicane. As we'll watch now on with Deathstairs, who's got a very nice run through turns 1 and 2 on Nemesis, but won't be able to do anything of it as Ragno runs wide ahead. The yellow flags in sector 3, I think that might be for the retiring Seppi. Not entirely sure, but looks like we are going to have a brilliant battle for 5th place here between Deathstairs Nemesis Racing, Ragno and Dougie Afferman. But Ragno, a mistake out of the final chicane in the last sector has cost him, as we've got more yellow flags. I don't know who that is for. That is for Seppi once again, who's got gravel on his tyres and is just causing yellow flags everywhere, which is not making my job easier. Just seen Kevin Jacobs said he pulled over and retired. Okay, fair enough. Not the greatest day of the office for you. Hopefully you have a better race out next time, as Nemesis is really closing on Ragno. Is Ragno going to make the same mistake? No, he is not. He's got a good run out of that final corner, and I'm sure he'll be looking to put some pressure on Dougie Afferman into turn 1. Look at the power that Williams has in the back of it. Did I say Renault? But anyway, the Williams. Around the outside is Ragno of Dougie Afferman. Is he going to be able to make the move stick? No, it looked like Dougie Afferman was going to try and stick it down the inside, but he was just not able to, as Ragno had the overspeed going into that corner and is not able to hold on to his P6, as Ragno is once again back up into P5 where he was before he made that mistake coming out of the chicane in the last sector, running a little bit wide there as well through turn 5. So I don't think this is quite over. I don't think it will be over until the fat lady sings, as Callum J. Spencer sets a 1:19.6 as he is now on the final lap of the race. Well, so we've got more yellow flags. That's probably just for Seppi, by the looks of it, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. But Dougie Afferman goes a little bit wide there through turn 11, and now it looks like we're going to have an F2007 gangbang here. Oh, as Nemesis has a little bit of a moment there through that corner, through the chicane, and that looks like it's going to allow Deathstairs the inside line into turn 1. Who's going to come out on top in this battle? So we head down into turn 1. It looks like Nemesis is going to comfortably hold it around the outside. Deathstairs choosing not to put up a fight there. Very odd as you're heading on to the final lap of the race. Come on, son. But it looks like Deathstairs did run a little bit wide, but it looks like it has settled down. But coming now through the last corner is Callum J. Spencer, who takes the Grand Slam for both of the races and takes a dominant victory here at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, as he wins by a whopping 25.5 seconds. Well, that's not confirmed, but that's looked like what the gap is going to be. A dominant display by Callum J. Spencer, and that puts him right in contention for the championship with a dominant display in that beautiful, beautiful Brawn GP car. But we'll keep our eyes peeled here on this battle for 5th place with Ragnar, Dougie Afroman, Nemesis and Death Says. Was Dougie Afroman is very close here to Ragnar. He's going to set it up the inside as this, the final corner. Ragnar turns in by the looks of it, and he cuts the corner to stay ahead. But they're side by side coming through the last corner. Who's going to come out on top here? As they'll run down to the line, but there's going to be the power of that Williams, who's going to finish ahead. But he has a 5-second stop-go penalty. But I think that will be removed, as it looks like that was applied after Anel Tanovic spun. But what an absolute grandstand finish we had there between Ragnar and Dougie Afroman. But I think Ragnar will claim that P5 once the penalty is removed. Well, everything just heated up there in the last sector, didn't it? Very glad for that, as of course Callum J. Spencer takes the win in race 2. As we will now move on to the classification here in a moment. But it is Callum J. Spencer winning ahead of Danny Bin Lahane, P2. Very crucial for the championship that he got that P2. And after Ricardo made a mistake, he made sure of it. Lord George with a great performance in 3, I must say. He had a hard time behind Nemesis Racing in the first race, so a good performance there by Lord George on the podium. We have Dougie Afroman in 5th, Nemesis in 6th, Death Says in 7th, 8th is Ragnar with 5-second penalty, but it looked like he did cut the corner to stay ahead of Dougie Afroman. I'm sure we will see an investigation for that. 9th is Murcielago, 10th is Galactic Scale, 11th is Seppi, Kevin Jacobs finishes in 12th, and Ragnar, after some contact with Dougie Afroman and then spinning, finishes in P13. As we have, I'll just read out the final few comments in the chat. We have Kevin Jacobs saying the BMW is insane in the straight line. Indeed it is. It's why it was holder of the fastest F1 lap of all time up until last year, where Kimi Raikkonen beat that lap time at Monza. SGT, thanks once again for the good Sunday night entertainment. Thanks, mate, for coming along as per usual. I'm glad that you enjoyed. Kevin Jacobs saying Ragnar cut the last corner to stay in front of Doug. It did look like that. It looked like he initially tried to turn in on Dougie Afroman in the final corner. Well, not in the final corner, in the chicane, and then went wide and cut the corner to stay ahead. And then just on the drag race to the finish line, he stayed ahead. So I'm sure we'll see an investigation for that between the two. Gaming Now or Ricardo or Toby, as we dog. We've got 3 names for him, but we'll just call him Ricardo or Toby. I don't know. Poop, I made a mistake. Indeed you did, mate. That's unfortunate. Was catching Lord George like there was no tomorrow, but ran out of laps. Indeed. Still a very good result for you, that P2 in the first race, and that holds you in good stead for this championship ahead. But that has been it for the second round of the Nemesis Online Racing League Historic Championship. And we will see you this time next weekend for the third round. I can't remember what circuit it is at, but we will see you again at this same time next weekend. And thank you guys for coming along, and I hope you have a very good day, and I'll see you all later.